You're Julian on the Brown Note and a review of the War on Drugs live drugs again. And I'm going to do some quick reviews because I've got just so much to get through at the moment. A second live album from a band that have established a niche for themselves and have released 3 very prominent alt-rock albums that touch on, not as critics say so much Bruce Springsteen, but that heartland rock of 80s John Cougar Mellencamp, Jack and Diane era rock music with a modern focus on personal anxiety. And my thoughts on this album are very similar to my thoughts on the previous one. They're very known as a live band in an era where music festivals are dominated by female solo pop and R&B acts miming. And I've seen the War on Drugs a few times live. Fantastic live band, fantastic experience. Really good band, really good live band. But I do have complaints about both the live albums, which are very similar. I'm not going to go through everything, but the opener, Harmonious Dream, is fantastic, nearly 10 minutes long. It's got these strobing synths like Won't Get Fooled Again, and it merges into the crowd clapping the band on stage, I guess. It's fabulous. Excuse me. Sublime start, and so is Burning. That's another fantastic track. And it's so 80s, particularly the way they use synths and pianos as well. And it's even sometimes it's synth bathes in the background, synth lines and pianos. There's a lot of keyboard work going on, and I feel like the keyboard work of those rock bands gets ignored from the 80s because it's very prominent. Dire Straits, Bruce Springsteen, lots of those bands had a huge element of synths and keyboards working in their music as well. And that's a great opening 15 minutes. After that, I felt like the album retreated a bit into mundanity. It's a little bit more drudgy, a little bit more dreary over Come to the City, I Don't Want to Wait. I mean, they're all fine, and it's a good solo one, I Don't Want to Wait, as well. But they're not compelling, it's background music. And I really feel like this is a fan release, like the other album as well, which is a shame, as I feel like they could have taken the best half of the previous live album and the best half of this live album and released a magnificent live album. But I feel like it goes down the same path too often. So that whole sort of middle half of the album is not that interesting. Pain, track 6, is a little bit dull. Slow Ghost is ironically a more compelling track, even though it's like really quite short and stripped back and a little bit more than anything on the album. It's much shorter. Is actually more compelling, both melodically and the performance as well. Again, it sort of picks up by this point. In Chains is more compelling. It's got this epic feel about it, and then it goes off on a run of probably 3 fantastic tracks in a row. Living Proof, which has a gorgeous guitar break, and you wonder why there aren't more guitar breaks like this in the band's music. It's almost David Gilmour-esque, the start of the guitar break, which has got this beautiful couple of notes just sort of bent and vibratoed, which are just so emotive. It did remind me of Gilmour. Why not more of that in their music? And again, the Under Pressure is probably, next to Harmonious Dream, Under Pressure is a highlight, I think, of both of these live albums. It's one of their best songs anyway, but the second half of it, where it goes full-blown rock and hoedown, is absolutely sublime. It's amazing, and it's the best thing on here. And there's a triumphant I Don't Live Here Anymore to end on, probably 3 or 4 very high points. But like I said with the other one, I wish that they cut half of that album and half of this album and put them together, because there's too much dreariness through the middle of the album, and I do feel like it is one for fans rather than people to get into the album. So I'm going to give War on Drugs, Live Drugs again, a 6 out of 10. and you know, it's worth it for Under Pressure and for Harmonious Dream, which is just both fantastic